Good morning, Gasaholics. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas. Another morning edition coming back to you after a hiatus. We've taken the summer off. I've been doing other jobs and traveling, such as, some of you have seen it, Hot August Nights in Reno, Bowling Green, Kentucky for the Hot Rod reunion, and many other places. Well, one of the things that's coming up today and is becoming very, very popular are electric vehicles. Now, I'm not against electric vehicles by any stretch of the imagination. What I am against is the misleading information and the assumption that everybody can drive an electric vehicle. Not so, my friends. And here's some of the reasons. Now, one of the things we talk about and hear about is how energy efficient and non-polluting an electric vehicle is. Well, that is true. The electric vehicle itself is non-polluting. The problem comes about when you build the batteries. The amount of fuel necessary used by the machines to dig up and create the necessary minerals and materials, not create the minerals, but harvest the minerals from the ground, is the equation that matches up, from what I understand, to the amount of jet fuel used for a year or more. It's actually more than what the jet fuel uses. Now, the other thing is the cost of the electric vehicle. Teslas are a beautiful vehicle, no doubt about it. They're fast. They're agile. They do what a car is expected to do, and they do it better in many cases. But here's the situation. Unless you own your own home and you have a business where you can plug in your vehicle to charge it, where do you charge your vehicle? You can go to a mall or someplace that has charging devices and spend 2 to 3 hours charging your vehicle each and every day sometimes. In my case, I don't have a place to charge it at my home. I don't have a place to charge it where I work every day. I don't have a place to charge it where I work part-time. Now, let's talk about inner city people. People that live in apartment buildings, some with 100 or more apartments. Do they have assigned parking? Maybe. Do they have access to a charging machine in that parking spot? No. Who is going to put one in there for them? Well, not the owner of the property. That's a capital expense, and they would own it and be liable for it. So that means the person who owns the vehicle will need to own his own or her own charging equipment. Well, how do you secure it and keep other people from utilizing it? That's a tricky thing, too. Now, the batteries themselves. What do you do with them once they're gone? I mean, yeah, they've got a life expectancy of, say, maybe 10 years, and they're warranted, forced to be warranted by the manufacturers or by the states of the manufacturers for, 5, 10 years maybe? All right, what do you do with the battery after that? Well, there are some companies that insist they are rebuilding these batteries, but they're not at full strength. Hi, Jim Dillo and Cassie Nunez. Jim, how you doing? Well, they don't rebuild them to the exacting standards that they were at new. And then there's the cost of those batteries. Now, I understand. I bought my car and it's under warranty. I don't have to worry about it. Well, the next person does. The average turnover of cars here in California is about 2 to 3 years. Usually when the lease runs up, because a lot of people will lease these vehicles rather than own them and get stuck with repair costs. The warranty on the entire vehicle is not 10 years. Now, there's other issues as well. Now, people in the inner city have to be able to afford a vehicle. Affordable electric vehicles, those two words don't necessarily go together. Hybrid? Yeah, hybrids are affordable. If you can buy a new car, you can afford to buy a hybrid. They're about the same price. Morning, David Wyckoff. You know about this. You work for a dealership. Now, I've had a hybrid. Yes, I have. It was a company vehicle. I averaged about 46 miles per gallon around town, around 39 if I drove it on the freeway, because it wasn't as efficient on the freeway. Why? Well, it uses more power. And when the batteries can no longer power the vehicle at the speed you're driving, then the engine takes over. Now, I had a gentleman argue with me here on Facebook that he doesn't see this as a problem. He's got a vehicle, he gets almost 90 miles on a charge, and he can drive to work, charge it, drive home, and charge it at home. He's the exception to the rule, not the rule. He is an example of the electric car snobs. A lot of people cannot drive to work and charge a vehicle. A lot of people do not have a place at home where they can charge a vehicle. I don't have an assigned parking space where I live. I park wherever there's an open spot, outside. Now, if I'm lucky, I get to park in a parking lot. I don't get to park in a parking lot at work. I have to park on the street. And I have to find a parking spot at a curb. Are we going to put electric charging stations on the curbs of streets? I work in a dealership row during the week. There aren't any charging stations in the entire complex. Yet California is mandating that electric cars become the only thing a new vehicle dealer will be able to sell in 2035. Well, then we get the argument, well, technology will change by then. Batteries will charge faster. They still have to have a place to charge. The cost. Well, with a faster charging battery, up goes the cost of the vehicle. An example, one of the least expensive full electric cars is the Fiat. One of the most expensive cars to change a battery on is the Fiat. The cost of the car new is about $30,000. A couple of years old, and you can buy them for less than $10,000. Why? Because the battery pack MSRP is over $20,000. Oh, yeah, you can probably find it for less. Go ahead. What quality? Not a factory battery. Not an OEM standard battery. Now, the other situation is our power grid in every state is not capable of handling full electric vehicle charging in great numbers. Now, right now, there's about 250,000 electric vehicles registered in the state of California. It's a pretty good amount. You see them all over here in the LA and Orange County and Ventura area. Those people are primarily buying Teslas. Okay, good car. The cheapest Tesla starts out at over $40,000. I can't afford a $40,000 car. I've never owned a $40,000 car. I can't qualify to buy a $40,000 car. When the average income is less than $50,000, how do they buy a $40,000 car? The answer is they don't. So, again, we're giving tax credits to the people who don't need the tax credits to buy these electric vehicles. Now, I do agree the Tesla is a very good-looking vehicle as long as you don't look at their truck. That is butt ugly. I don't care what you say. GM is coming out with the new electric truck. They're bringing back their ill-fated SUV, the Hummer. It's still decent looking. It's a conventional looking truck. It's got plenty of power. It's got plenty of mileage range. But again, can you afford a $70,000 truck? I can't. I know a lot of people that probably can or will, but they also have a place to charge it. Now, David Wyckoff, my dealer friend here, if someone is buying an electric or hybrid to save the planet, they're deluding themselves. And yes, they are. They're delusional because it does not. Now, the only thing it does save is during the driving period, when you are driving the vehicle. As far as producing the vehicle, it takes as much energy as it does to produce a regular vehicle. Okay, that's good. Mark Angel is saying electricity cannot be generated in California to supply the current demand. You're quite right. We have rolling blackouts, or brownouts as they're calling. But what do you do when you can't charge your vehicle? With a gasoline-powered vehicle, you can pull into a station any place just about and fill up in a matter of minutes. When I was doing some engineering analysis driving for a leading vehicle manufacturer who was introducing a full electric vehicle, we would run a specific route and charge the vehicle. Now, we would charge it at a mall, as long as no one else was parked there. We would then go to a shopping center. And sometimes we had to wait 30, 40, 50 minutes to an hour to get into one of the charging stations. And even then, there was a time limit. We could charge it to about 3/4 charge. Now, we'd make the route. It was about a 200-mile trip. And we could make that route and charge it only twice. Once when we left, because we wanted to have a full charge. Once at halfway, because we were down half the charge. And then again the following morning, because we had to charge it back up to full. Now, it was a manufacturer. They didn't even have a charging station at that time. Now, I'm sure they put one in since then, because it became a little ludicrous to have an electric vehicle and not have a place to charge it. Oh, did I say that? Now, electric vehicles are coming whether we want them or not. Volkswagen has indicated they will no longer produce gasoline-powered vehicles in Europe, or for the rest of the world, for that matter, in about 2030, 2035, just like the state of California is demanding. General Motors says they'll do the same thing. Ford hasn't totally committed to that, nor has Porsche, Maserati, Rolls-Royce, or many other manufacturers. Why? It's not feasible. It is not realistic to expect everyone to drive an electric vehicle. Now, after the battery is dead, for an example, where does it go? Well, they can't be recycled. At least no one's figured out how to recycle the batteries yet. Will someone figure out how to do that? Some of it, yeah. There are parts of the battery that can be recycled. But where's the rest go? Well, right alongside those propellers from the wind generating systems that they haven't figured out how to recycle. They'll bury them in the desert or someplace else where they think it will not cause harm. You want your electric vehicle? Buy your electric vehicle. But don't force the rest of the world to follow your misguided ideas. Give people and allow people the choice. If I could afford and charge, and it was realistic for me to own an electric vehicle, I just might. I have a friend that's got one of those Fiats, and he bought it because, well, frankly, $10,000 was a cheap golf cart. Now, he's one of the lucky guys. He can charge his car at his home, although it's very easy where he lives, out in the middle of Palm Desert, where there really isn't much traffic and much apartment buildings, and he lives in his own home, has a huge backyard with a driveway going into it. He can charge his vehicle at his home. Of course, he's retired and doesn't go to work every day and doesn't have to drive very far, because in Palm Desert, you just stay in one location. It's too hot to go anyplace most times. And when he does have to go someplace, well, then he hops into his diesel Chevy van. Now, he's got a Fiat. I drove that Fiat for a while. Interesting little car. It's quiet. I left the dealership with it with a half charge. I had a lot of downhill driving, and by the time I got to my home at the time, I was able to get it up to 3/4 charge because it regenerated as it drove. And so did the hybrid that I had as a company vehicle. It regenerated some of its power. Now, the gentleman that argued with me about, well, he can charge his at work and he can charge his at home, and he got 70, 80 miles per charge. Well, the only problem with that is everyone that's tested that vehicle has only gotten about 53 to 54 miles on a charge. So what do you do when it's run out of electrical power? The engine comes on. You're running gasoline. A hybrid is a better choice than a full electric vehicle. If you get stuck on the road with a out-of-charged electric vehicle, what happens? Well, you have to be towed someplace to get it charged. Or they've got to have a portable generator to sit there for a couple of hours and charge you. Now, charging you will be both charging you financially and charging the vehicle. Cost effective? Not really. But that's the way we're going. I'm not against electric vehicles. I'm against forcing them on people. I'm against making that the only thing you can drive. I'm against the extra taxes they're going to charge those of us that do not have electric vehicles. And they will. Don't think so? What are they doing to people that still want to smoke? They tax a pack of cigarettes to the point where it's, I don't know how much, was it $5, $10 a pack now? I don't know. I don't smoke. Never have. I do drive a gasoline-powered vehicle, and I will continue to drive one. Will I get taxed extra? Already am. Have you looked at your registration fees lately? Registration on one of my cars, for example, well, it was $35 to $40 for many years. It's now $200 a year. Where's that extra tax going? Well, electric vehicles aren't paying road taxes. Why did a gasoline tax go up? $1 a gallon here in California. Because electric vehicles don't pay road taxes. They don't buy gasoline. And I don't care what kind of subsidy or subsidized payment or penalty an electric vehicle driver gets charged by DMV, it will not equate to the amount of tax they would have paid on a gasoline-powered vehicle. And don't forget, as I was just reminded, the electric vehicles have a self-driving mode. You want to be around a vehicle that's self-driving? I understand they're in the early stages and they'll get better. But do you really want someone sleeping in the driver's seat while the car motors down the road? And I do say motor because in reality, a gasoline engine is an engine. I know we refer to them as a motor. An electric vehicle has motors, not engines. Now, do electric-powered vehicles work? In hybrid form, yes, they do. As a matter of fact, trains are hybrid vehicles. Have been for decades. Diesel trains. The diesel engine only powers the motors. It's basically a generator. All right, I'm Hot Rod Bob. Special edition of GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene, on this Thursday as I get ready to go to Irwindale Drag Strip for another night of racing action. Will we have electric vehicles there? You bet. We've had Porsche electrics. We've had Teslas. Haven't had a lowly Fiat or a Nissan Leaf, but we've had a lot of electric vehicles come out to the drag strip and have just as much fun. It was their choice. It was their choice of vehicle. Are the Teslas slow? By no means. They'll give a supercharged Dodge Demon a run for their money, and in some cases have passed them by. Porsche's in a class all by its own, and it leaves the Hemi-powered cars in the dust right from the starting line. NHRA is even thinking of coming up with an electric car class. They just haven't figured out how to class them. They will. It'll happen. It's going to happen. Big Daddy Don Garlits has been trying to set up a electric-powered dragster. He's gotten close to the 200-mile mark that he's trying to look at. That's 200 miles an hour. An electric dragster. He's done it. It will happen. More people will do it. Is it a feasible thing? Yeah, it is. Can it be done? You bet. Should it be mandated for everyone? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas. Brought to you by Service Tech Equipment. No matter what kind of car you've got, it's got to get serviced. And Service Tech Equipment has the equipment you need. Service Tech and Craig Heidenthal brought you gas. Gas today. The Great American Auto Scene. Since 1990, your source for information, automotive trivia, and a little bit of humor from time to time. See you at the drags. I'm Hot Rod Bob. Have a great day.